Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. I have Philippe. Pronounce your last name.
Philippe Harmandzhiev.
Harmandzhiev. Okay. And we are in, what's the name of this?
This is Kresna. This is the town of Kresna. We are on the road from Greece to Bulgaria, or so we are in Bulgaria, but
And it parallels the river.
Along the Struma River. So there is a lot of traffic that goes to Greece. This is the only way to Thessaloniki, to Halkidiki. Otherwise, there is another road across the mountain, but this is the heaviest
And we're
traffic.
close to your farm here.
Yeah, it's like 15 kilometers. Yeah, and we are at the corner Bulgaria between Macedonia and Greece. So we are in the most southwestern part of Bulgaria.
Okay, good to give a frame of reference. So we talked about earlier, one of the things is I rated some of the podcasts we've been doing, I need better hook points. I think just really better titles for what we're thinking about. You and I have captured, we've talked about all the problems on the planet and we've come up with the answers. And here we are eating lunch, by the way, at a Turkish restaurant. One of the things we talked about is kind of that you can't separate agriculture from people.
Yeah.
Right? And everywhere, it's the same planet we've got everywhere, but the planet has different microclimates, it has different soil types, it has a history of growing indigenous plants or the evolution of plants that have been working in an area for a long, long time. In some areas of the planet are known for certain things. So here in Bulgaria, the tomatoes are amazing. We talked about this, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so correct me. Chernozem?
Chernozem. Chernozem. Cherno means black. Zem means earth. So it's actually black earth.
Yeah.
Chernozem.
Interesting enough, but that's what they call the Amazon in areas that are biochar.
Yeah,
They called it.
Negra or something like this.
Same thing, black earth.
Yeah.
As I looked at the soil, I looked at our soil profile and comparing different places that I podcasted in South America, and, North America, Europe, Africa, Asia. This is probably as high, if not the highest quality soil. That at least that where you have that. But as we move around, like your farm is more sandy.
No, ours,
So it's more
not,
bacterial, and it's going to be. But
so less organic matter because so let's think of the eastern and the northern part of Bulgaria. There is the Chernozem. Here you don't have that much Chernozem. We are more close to Greece, to the Greek.
So maybe a little more lime in the soil. So it might be
sandy for sure. Some places with lime. So I have land here, and it's they even come to dig for. They varnish their walls with the soil.
gypsum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the bottom line is this soil is probably much better for growing a grape. There's certain crops that are probably and grasses.
Yeah.
So you're doing cattle,
Well, I haven't chose. It's not my choice. So I'm.
But it's profitable. You got to go to what's profitable first, right?
And also
chickens, cattle.
So my concept is when you open the fridge to see only meat. because this is the best way to connect to the customer. You cannot connect with the customer selling one thing, even if you have the best tomatoes, etc. Because for the customer, the time is very important.
Right.
So and he
They,
doesn't
and
want.
they brand too. They know your brand.
Yeah,
If you make
yeah,
it the
yeah.
best tomato,
Yeah,
then they're going to try
there is a
your.
halo effect also on the chicken. So that's why I didn't have a choice but to have a different range of animals in order to ensure that I have enough product so that to hook the customer, so that the customer to feed me.
So to do what you're doing, one term is diversified.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because you've got animal husbandry,
Yeah.
and you're growing perennials, you're growing annuals.
And we also process. This is very important.
You're
because
processing your own
my
meats,
own meats and my own
eggs, milk.
and eggs, etc. So that allows you to increase the range of offerings to the consumer. Because really, what I think if I'm something proud of is that I have very good and loyal customer base that come frequently and they are very very loyal. And they grow every year.
Because they believe in the brand.
They believe in the quality and they just they're very forgivable, you say.
Right,
Even if we
And a bad crop
Yes,
day,
yeah.
whatever, they're still going to be back.
yeah. So this is the level.
So the idea, though, is that it's not just, in some respects, you get consequences that are maybe unintended, but they're positive.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have a lot of waste.
Oh no.
The animals are creating fertilizer, especially when you're moving the chickens, the cows as well. So you get that entire holistic process of farming going.
I think this
Which
is
makes it, farming is not a profitable sport, as we know. But every little thing you can do that allows you to have a better, less cost or more profitability makes a big difference.
absolutely, and agriculture is the only human activity where the full cycle is absolutely possible, and not only reusing the things, but even upscaling the things. Because when you do the compost, you actually increase or you do value compost, or you process anything, you actually increase the value, and this is very powerful. And this is actually not possible in the monoculture, because in the monoculture you cannot turn the cycle. You're just missing.
You're missing all the other ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think our monoculturism has created conditions of not utilizing the value of the agriculture as
And it's, all these things have definitions. So if you're saying, hey, monoculture is, that's all I'm doing is growing a crop, or I'm raising one particular animal, that's a definition of monoculture that doesn't work. Unless you're on a huge scale. The other concept of monoculture is more the concept of industrial, which is separating everything completely. So you could technically have different monocultures by having crop rotation, or I'm not sure. It's definitely not a monoculture when you're doing your forest, your urban forest.
When I say monoculture, it's my definition, because everyone has his convention what he's talking about. So when I say monoculture, is by definition either the kingdom of plants or the kingdom of animals. So even if you raise, let's say, if you have a crop rotation on different fruits with one and the same crop, it's still monoculture, because you still create a waste or leftovers that utilize.
And you have to bring in inputs
Yeah,
from somewhere else
Yeah.
to grow that one
yeah,
particular
yeah,
crop.
yeah. Well, when you're more holistic, more in a cycle, it's then you're so if you're more in the cycle, then you're less monocrop or more holistic. So probably the dualism, holistic monocrop is better to to understand the dichotomy, the choices.
I'm going to use a hook point.
Okay.
Let's eat. I think everyone can relate to, and we'll talk a little. One of the things that we talked about in the car drive out is the history of this region. It's not just Bulgaria, but let's just call it Bulgaria. It was part of the Ottoman Empire for a long time.
Yeah.
300-400 years or
Five.
so, 500 years. And it had its moments, I'm sure. It lasted a long time and protected people, whatever. But at some point, it seems like most of the countries in the region, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, whoever was in that, when it was time to separate, they were ready to separate.
Yeah.
So, and in this particular area, the Russians came in and helped fight that war.
Yeah.
So there's an affinity toward Russia. You never became, after the Ottoman Empire, you never technically joined the Soviet Union, but you were, what is the term, you were part of their protectorate or
Well, if you had some, probably the most correct thing is we have two organizations. One was the Warsaw Pact, which was the opposite of NATO. So the Warsaw Pact was the military union or military alliance, and the other thing was called Common Economic Council. So it was it was the economical union, and in this economical union, in Bulgarian it's called SIF. I don't know how it's spelled, or you say Comecon countries. I think Comecon is the term. So within this Comecon frame, every country had a specialization, or every country was appointed to do
a
something.
specific thing.
Yeah.
And I saw that in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia,
Yeah.
where they were raising certain crops,
Yeah. So it's like a specialization of the
Right,
country.
which in theory could work, but
It's if you take Ricardo, the specialization of the countries is good because one has conditions to do one thing, etc. So we were producing a lot of vegetables. I mean, if you talk
From this
about the
region.
agriculture, yeah, this region was famous for tomatoes and for grapes and for tobacco. So basically, and we were processing the tobacco and we were supplying the Russians with cigarettes, etc. With wine, of course. And a lot of tomatoes.
And
the
tomato, by
aubergines.
the way, is no one on the podcast will eat this with us, but it's amazing. Coming from Greece and now here, I'm so spoiled, and I won't be able to get tomato. I'm constantly determined to come up with the best sort of profile and never seen a better tomato than we have. So that gives us a little bit of a background. So Ottoman Empire ends in about the mid-1800s, and then World War I, then World War II, and then after the war,
So
Greece became part of NATO.
yeah,
This
Bulgaria
week.
from the Warsaw Pact.
Right.
And there was a fence across the border, and you cannot come here. So you have like 20 kilometers strip from the border inside towards the mainland, land, the inland, in which you have to have a special permission to come. So you have to have
And
a
leaving
stamp.
is the same way.
Yeah, and but actually visiting your relatives here, you have to have the so-called open list. It's like an internal visa to come here.
So some of those restrictions were probably unpopular. Just to a degree, though, they were protecting the overall union or the overall pact. And it was somewhat functional because salaries were relatively level between different people, different parts of life. If you were good at medicine, you became a doctor. If you became so there was somewhat for employment. So there's some things that worked, but there's things that didn't work, obviously, and it's no longer the system. But from an agriculture side, the specialization happened around the same time as industrial revolution hits,
Yeah.
right? Industrial farming.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing in the States. And we started in the Soviet Union, and we became heavy reliance on fertilizers, on pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, massive tilling, use of a lot of water, a lot of flood irrigation, that sort of thing. So, and we're starting to see some of the fallback from that. Let's talk again about the cultural part of it. You mentioned this before in the car. When these farms, like let's take the wine industry for instance, when they got fractionalized, right?
So first they were monopoly. So in 1947, the processing industry was monopolized, also the land. So I was, when I do public talks and I say during the socialism in time, Bulgaria had one wine, one salami, one cheese, and one bread in one shop. Because we had the monopoly of the winery that was a monopoly, and there was no one that was allowed to make wine, or you had the huge, gigantic company that produces the milk, this milk processing, and one company that was doing the bread, and also we had one restaurant company that was running all the restaurants.
So the downside of that would be competitive.
Not only, also the
Creativity.
yeah, exactly, the recipes and the so you tend to industrialize also the product, so the products will become one and the same. So you don't have a choice. So as a consumer, it was no. I mean, on the other hand, the quality was good because they didn't have an access, and they didn't want to spend dollars for technologies or for additives, etc. So basically, sometimes they even made the mayonnaise from whole eggs instead of powder or things like this. So it was quite naive way of producing the food, and so that means that you have faster time to lose the quality of the product. I mean, the deterioration of the product would be faster because you wouldn't have preservatives and things like this that
You have good logistics, and you had a simple product. It was easy to get it in and get it out.
yeah, but still they didn't put any preservatives, etc. Because they well, in the meat they would put nitrite, but in other stuff you didn't have that long list of today's
Which are not good.
yeah.
So it kind of goes back to the philosophy of Jadam again, where he talks about nothing's all good or all bad. system as a whole. So, but we see economics and politics definitely shaping culture, but also shaping agriculture. When we're in Africa, for instance, the agriculture has been decimated in Zimbabwe. It used to be the food basket of Africa, but the way the politics went down is the people who knew what they were doing, the knowledge base got kind of kicked off. Lands got given to other people. They just didn't have the capacity or the knowledge to grow and do the things. And so,
Very similar thing happened here. With so the land was confiscated in 47. It was the fields were what is the term? What is the opposite of fragmentation? Consolidated.
Mm-hmm.
So the fields were consolidated. You had large blocks that were able to be worked with machines, so efficiency, irrigation, etc.
Right.
So the good thing was the irrigation and all of the common structure that
There's no walls in between. It's easy to access.
and also you had structures that would do the mechanical work. So you have like 50 tractors in one place with mechanics, etc.
Wow.
And they go here and there, and they go to the vineyards, and then they go to the fields. So very efficient and well organized. Also mechanical work, the infrastructure, as I said. And then what happened was a very wild deconstructing of this system. So it was like just immediately not well thought. So, for example, what happened to the wine monopoly, so-called Winter? So it was a big company with structure, with headquarters, procurement department, consultants. They had also foreign trade office and daughter companies that were selling wine in different countries. And so in one day, they dissolved or just broke down the monopoly. And so they left the headquarters as one company, the procurement office as in another company, the foreign trade in another company, and each of the branches at the different regions as separate companies, like fields. Overnight, and they've forgotten about the brands, about the trademarks. So the trademarks were belonging to the company that was actually dissolved, and there was not an owner for the trademark with the patent office.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So this all
Big
of
thing
this.
to forget about.
Sorry?
That's a big thing to forget.
Oh yeah. And actually, I don't know if they forgotten it or they purposefully just
Never
let
got
them.
around to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there are many history books that should be written on this topic. But what happened is, in a overnight, we lost markets because then the local importer would take the brand and would register with himself because there was no protection and wouldn't allow you to continue selling this brand. Not only that, but the local companies that were formed after this dissolution, they lacked capacity. So, for example, we have, it's an anecdote, but a true one. In Asenovrad, there is a winery there, and when they receive a fax, the time when we were working with faxes, if they receive fax in English, they would resend the fax to the newly created commercial foreign trade company that is out of this directorate from the monopoly because nobody was able to read the facts in English in the
in the regional area.
yeah, and or you had a cashier, and he suddenly becomes chief accountant, or the warehouse lady, which becomes head of marketing and sales.
Got it. And this same capacity issues is happening. And we have to think in terms of, most civilizations have been around for a while, and most countries even. But something like that, that's not even 40 years ago. That's
Yeah. 30,
35 years ago or so. Um, to be able to respond to that, make corrections, is an amazing thing. And so the system now is much more functional.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah, but we had to go to
hit the bottom
to hit,
to get out.
which was not needed. I mean, it could have been more thoughtful. By the way, you have countries that manage this transition much better than us. For example, Slovenia, or even South Africa, with its wine industry, they managed it quite much better than us. For example, with the wine monopoly, because they separated, they created two companies, KVW, KWV, and Bristol. So they separated and they created two competing companies. But it's like, are you cutting vertically, but you take every part to be present in the new formation, or you cut like I cut your arm and help you, now sing. You don't have mouth, you don't have. So if you cut it vertically, it's much more functional. This way of cutting that was just by slices, but vertical slices, it doesn't work. Yeah. And this so this created a crisis because on one hand the land was returned to many absentee owners that would have moved to.
Well, think about that. In 35 years, people went somewhere. People lived, people died, people. And
New heirs were
yeah,
born.
you're talking about the heirs taking over that knew nothing. And
Yeah, and it was the land was anyway fragmented. By the time they confiscated the land, but not that much, and it was further fragmented by the three generations, which
automatically fought with each other.
yeah, and I mean, if it was a natural inheritance, so if the father gives to the oldest son, or to the guy that wants to work the land, and the land stays still consolidated, even if it's passed by the generations. While when you compress this and give back the land to the third generation, they grew like 10 times.
Yeah,
I was
20
having,
acres, and all of a sudden there's 20
I was having a deal for 4 acres with 21 people all over Bulgaria.
You have to trace them all down.
I had to trace them. They had to come, and then
And everybody has to vote. Yes,
yeah,
unless
they
there's a
had to
mechanism.
sign and things like this. So it was. I mean, imagine how fast you consolidate land, and when you do permanent crop like vineyard or orchard, you cannot do it with a 1-year contract.
No, the way to make money on orchards and vineyards is to get them to last as long as possible. Because you could have one for 25 years, 50 years, or 75. If you want return on investment, the older the better.
And then also with these fragmentations, how do you support the common infrastructure? Without those absentee owners, nobody wants to clean the canal, nobody wants to pay for the person that supports the infrastructure.
Right.
So a lot of value went down the drain, which is pity.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.